Coming up on this edition of High School Sports Weekly, brought to you by OS1 Sports Injury Clinic.
We will recap Week 8 of region play on the football field.
And we're going to learn about Spain Park female wrestler Yasmine Oliveira.
We will also get a chance to talk to Hewitt-Trussville's cross-country team and find out how they use their downtime during quarantine. And
from the High School Athletic Association, Steve Savarese joins us to talk about COVID-19 and its impact so far this year. OS1 Sports Injury Clinic in Hoover is a proud partner of High School Sports Weekly. OS1 has fellowship-trained sports medicine physicians right here in your community. There's no appointment needed. Just drive up to the door. They've got X-ray and MRI on site. So now, being injured or having an orthopedic issue doesn't mean you need to be exposed to sick people. Avoid the hassle and time of going to an ER when you can get more specialized care in a more timely fashion at OS1. Open 7 days a week to serve you. It's OS1 Sports Injury Clinic, and find them online at bettersooner.com. Welcome back, everybody. I'm Chris Stewart along with Susan Carruthers. Great to have you with us and great to have another week of high school football behind us.
It sure is. Can't wait to hear about it.
We are going to talk about Week 8 right now. We'll start with the two teams that are atop the region right now, Hoover and Thompson. Hoover, a winner over their crosstown rivals from Spain Park, 47-34. It was definitely a track meet.
Yes, and both teams started out strong, leading to a 7-7 tie, but Spain Park couldn't keep up, and they ended up falling to their crosstown rival.
Did indeed. Thompson, no problem at all, though, with Gadsden City in a 48-0 victory.
Right, that would be Thompson's second shutout and 12 straight wins. Thompson is 8-0 on the season and 5-0 in the region.
Been impressed with Oak Mountain. After they lost a tough one to Hoover, they have bounced back, won 2 straight, including this one against Tuscaloosa County, 42-21.
Right, and a lot of fourth quarter action in that game. I believe the fourth quarter started out with Tuscaloosa County down 21-0, and like you said, the final score there was 42-21.
Vestavia Hills continued to battle, but Hewitt-Trussville continues to beat everybody except Hoover and Thompson. They win, Hewitt-Trussville does, 42-35.
That's right. Vestavia just fell victim to too many turnovers in that game. All right, another great week of football, and now moving on to cross country. I had the opportunity today to go over to Hewitt-Trussville and meet with members of their cross country team and learn what they did during the pandemic. While the rest of the world was in quarantine last summer, the cross country team from Hewitt-Trussville High School didn't sit around and do nothing. They decided to get out and help people in their community that couldn't help themselves. Matt Ankoviak got his teammates together and started Free Lawn Care, a company that offers free services to the elderly and disabled in the Trussville area.
Well, in the summers previous, we had all of us had done some kind of yard work to just make a little extra money on the side, and I think when that endeavor we realized that there are some people that just can't afford to have a regular service all the time, or if they have the money, there's just small things that they wouldn't really know who to call, like just to move boxes around or something like that, just so you couldn't get a real company out there for, and they just needed some help with that. But I think it all started when our coach has always instilled in us the value of community service. Like, he spends all of his weekends down at the food shelter in Birmingham serving. And I think just him instilling that value in us and even inviting a few of us to come down and help has just always really motivated us to want to do more for our community and the people around us.
We, as a group, collectively brought stuff that we had at our house, and then we had some people that said they had leftover equipment that they'd let us use and ultimately have. And we would just kind of pander for our family members. I got a lawnmower from my granddad that may or may not work. We got nicer lawnmowers just from doing jobs and getting donations and just stuff like that.
Well, our goal was really to just, obviously it was not the best kind of environment when we had started this with our global pandemic and such division in our communities. Our goal was really just to bring a little bit of good to the world and just help as many people as we could. If anybody else would like to add anything.
We got out of the house. That was nice.
Did keep us active all summer.
It was definitely a long break, so we had to get something to do.
Yeah, if we're gonna get out of the house, you might as well be doing good. So
some of us got taken off from our jobs. Like, I know Matt, he was working somewhere, and I spent most of the time with him over the summer. I spent more time with him than, especially all of them too.
we don't know how good we have it compared to most people, and we take a lot of things for granted.
Yeah, like you said, it really puts your own personal issues and problems into perspective when you just lend a hand to someone else who has it way worse than you.
The guys shared with us several of their favorite experiences and stories. It wasn't all work. They had a lot of fun too.
We had Paul here, not really doing anything, so we're like, Paul, how about we get you, not like because he doesn't do anything, but like
doing stuff.
Yes, no. So we moved him over and we're like, hey, you can go trim the hedges, and the hedge trimmers with the cord, like your only job is to not cut the cord. Well, about 10 minutes later, Paul's like,
and Matt bet Will and Sawyer it was lunch.
Oh, I forgot about
lunch.
free
If
lunch.
they would swim to the other side of the lake and back, and
He
so
didn't buy
they
us
got
lunch.
all the way down there and they couldn't swim back, so they had to walk all the way around the property again.
it was a 20-minute swim to the other
Yeah.
side.
And when they got back, Matt didn't give them lunch because they didn't swim all the way back.
Yeah, they didn't swim
That's
back.
a bet.
And Will was cutting the bamboo with a machete, and he wasn't really paying attention. And so Will goes and he's talking to Dobbs, and he just nicks his thumb a little bit,
Nope, my pointer finger.
pointer finger.
That's right there too.
Hit him right
He
on the
gets
knuckle.
stitches. We had to take, who was it?
Ken.
Was it
Ken.
Kent's and Will, and they went to the ER that day.
I think it was more that injury wasn't that funny. The fact that our coach was there, and he is very old school, was
He was
very
telling Will that
comical.
he was fine.
Rub
and
He's like,
dirt
you're
on it.
fine.
He said,
No,
"Suck it up."
I knew I was fine. I just, when I hit my hand, I just looked at it. I was like,
We left some blood on her road that
Yeah.
day.
and we didn't have any like medical. Well, after this incident, we had always had a
We
first
always
aid
have
kit.
Oh,
But
good.
we had a old Santa hat in Kent's car that I used to put pressure on the wound.
I think it's brought us more community as a team, and just with like all of Trussville in general, because it really, I think, inspired others to do the same. And it also just really brought our team together, because we'd get up every morning at about 7 and run 5 to 6 miles, and then go and do lawn care for 4 hours. I think it all just brought us together.
So usually, what we're gonna do is we're gonna pass it on to the senior, i.e., me, Sawyer, and Paul. And we're going to try to keep the same aspect. We're going to grow a little bit, try and keep all the same stuff, like all of our equipment-wise. We got to find another person to pull trailer. If he's not there, he was the truck all summer. So we're going to try and keep it the exact same and improve.
Yeah, I think, like he said, our coach has always instilled community service with us, so it's a lot easier once the group's already formed for people to kind of jump in later and want to help out. I mean, like he said, I joined later, and it was pretty easy to get into it, and I enjoyed doing it every day.
To keep following these guys and for more information or to donate to free lawn care, visit their Facebook page. For High School Sports Weekly, I'm Susan Carruthers.
Susan, the thing that makes this show so much fun for us and what we get so much feedback about is beyond the scores, beyond the schedule, it's a good chance to tell stories like that.
That's right, and that was a really fun story to be able to bring to you.
Nice to be able to smile a little bit these days. That's not all that common anymore, unfortunately. Well, next month, high school wrestling will get underway in Alabama, but with a new look. The AHSAA has added 3 tournaments for lady wrestlers. Now, the sport's not sanctioned yet, but it will give the 46 female wrestlers in Alabama high schools a chance for regular season matches against the same sex. The ladies will still be able to wrestle through the regular season against boys. Now, one of those ladies taking to the mats, Spain Park's Yasmine Oliveira. And as Donette Logan tells us, her moves may be intimidating to some of the guys.
At first look, Yasmine Oliveira looks like your typical high school girl. Petite, sporting lip gloss, a ponytail, soft-spoken, and full of smiles. But there is nothing typical about this young lady. That is Yasmine flipping her 250-pound dad down on the mat, and that's just her warm-up.
I started jiu-jitsu, I was like about 3 years old as well, and that was a lot more fast-paced, a lot more, movement, and just a lot of toughness, and I liked that. And then judo came along a little bit later, but I fell in love with judo too, because I love ground game and takedowns, I feel comfortable doing that. So then that's when I started judo. I was in 7th grade, I think.
The moment she steps on the mats, she has a tunnel vision. She goes at her opponents just that's the last thing that she wants to do is lose.
It should come as no surprise that Yasmine took to these sports. Martial arts is in her blood. Both her mom and dad are black belts in jiu-jitsu.
So I started with judo first, and then later on, when I was 11 years old, I started training Brazilian jiu-jitsu.
What Yasmine took to next, trying to find her place, has her becoming a trendsetter in Alabama.
I was in 8th grade, and I didn't really expect to do anything much in wrestling. It was more like I wanted to be a part of the school, It was middle school, everybody's trying to fit in a little bit, and I just wanted to find my place. And wrestling kind of, tied in with everything else that I do outside of school. So I just decided that I would try wrestling to better my jiu-jitsu, not really to do anything else.
Yasmine is one of the few females that are a driving force for female wrestling in Alabama high schools.
I mean, it's a very different world. It's still a very different world for me because, I can relate better to a girl than I can to a guy. But the guys were chill, and everybody was pretty welcoming.
She's very girly. She's still, a princess to me, but at the same time, she feels comfortable, and she goes against boys, and that actually just encouraged me to help her as much as I can.
This year, the AHSAA has agreed to offer a few female tournaments. It doesn't mean female wrestling is a sanctioned sport just yet, but it does mean it's one step closer. By competing against all girls, it may actually give Yasmine someone to pin. It seems some guys don't want to face her, but not for the reasons you may think.
I remember one time where this guy I was about to wrestle, my other teammates were they were kind of hyping me up a little bit and talking about this guy, and they went and talked to the guy and said, "Hey, you're gonna wrestle this girl," and he was like, "I don't want to wrestle a girl. I don't want to get beat up, and I also don't want to lose. So I don't know how I feel about this."
So why not cheer, volleyball, softball, or even girls basketball?
I think you should do wrestling because it's more mental than physical, I feel like. I mean, physical is a big role, obviously, but mentally you prepare yourself for the worst. And that's important as a female, especially in this world today with a lot of bad stuff happening out there. So I think it's just a mentality build up for girls, especially with confidence.
What all started out as a way for Yasmine to find her place in middle school has led to her finding out who she really is as a person.
So away from wrestling, it's just helped me understand who I am as a person. I understand that I'm not like everybody else. Most girls, they want to cheer, they want to do volleyball, and that's cool too, and I respect them, but that's just not me. That's just not something that I fit into. And wrestling was just one of the things that made me who I was in it. Outside of wrestling, I feel fine doing what I do without, feeling bad about it.
Oh, definitely has built her good, strong character, and she really knows what she wants. We try to put her in ballet and gymnastics, but I think she felt more comfortable, in a room with a bunch of wrestlers with her.
As for after high school, Yasmine is considering a career in the medical field. And for wrestling?
I feel like I'll be doing it till I can't walk anymore.
Donette Logan, High School Sports Weekly.
All right, so fess up. Would you have participated if that was available back in your high school days?
I don't think I would have had the guts to do it, but what an impressive young lady, and I'm really proud of her for going after it.
One sport I would have avoided doing the play-by-play for. I can tell you that right now. All right, when we come back, we'll talk with Steve Savarese and also have National Scouting Reports Recruiting Roundtable. OS1 Sports Injury Clinic in Hoover is a proud partner of High School Sports Weekly. OS1 has fellowship-trained sports medicine physicians right here in your community. There's no appointment needed. Just drive up to the door. We've got x-ray and MRI on site. So now, being injured or having an orthopedic issue doesn't mean you need to be exposed to sick people. Avoid the hassle and time of going to an ER when you can get more specialized care in a more timely fashion at OS1. Open 7 days a week to serve you. It's OS1 Sports Injury Clinic, and find them online at bettersooner.com.
Hey everybody, welcome back to National Scouting Report Recruiting Roundtable. My name is Rachel Brown, and today I'm going to be breaking down the 4 stages of the recruiting process. Phase 1 is identification and recognition. This is where college coaches find out about you. This can happen in a couple of different ways, whether it's from one of your coaches, whether it's you've made an all-state list, or whether it's a scout like myself telling these coaches that you can play at the next level. Once you've been identified as a recruit, you'll get moved to phase 2, which is evaluation. This is where they want to see if you can play. Can you play at their level? They're going to ask for video. A lot of the evaluation process is done in video because coaches don't have the time to go out and look at athletes that they don't know a ton about. So it's really important that you have good video that can grab the attention of the college coaches. Once you've been evaluated, you'll go to phase 3, which is comparison. This is where they're going to want to see you play in person. They're going to want to get a better look at your skill set in person. They also want to see other things that they can't see in video, things like your work ethic, your hustle, your leadership, your attitude, things that really make you the player that you are. You may also get invited to a camp during this phase. It's important that you get on that campus and get to know that coach a little bit better and see if it would be a good fit for you. Another really important factor in the comparison phase is your academics. Your GPA and your ACT score alone can put you at the top of a college coach's list. So not only is it important that you're working on your skill set athletically, but you're also staying on top of what needs to be done in the classroom. College coaches are going to gather all of this information that they've gotten through these 3 phases so far, and they're going to rank the athletes that they're recruiting from their number 1 all the way to maybe number 3 or 4. Depending on where you are in that ranking, you'll get moved to phase 4, which is the offer. The big aha moment, the moment you've been waiting for. Now, not all offers are created equal. There are committable and non-committable offers. There are sports where you're a head count, where, in other words, you're given a full scholarship or a walk-on opportunity. There's other sports where you are given a partial scholarship or a percentage. So again, not all offers are the same, but you made it. You made it there. That's really important, and again, time to celebrate. It all goes back to the first phase, though, of being identified. If you are not identified, those college coaches can't know who you are, and you can't be recruited. So if you have questions about how to get identified or where you're even at in the recruiting process, please reach out to me or go to our website where we can help guide you through that process and answer some questions for you. Thanks for tuning in this week. We'll see you next time.
Thank you, Rachel, for bringing us that information every week. A little while ago, I was able to sit down with Steve Savarese, Executive Director of the Alabama High School Athletic Association. We caught up on all kinds of things, and we'll bring you those stories in the future, but today we want to focus on COVID-19, how it's affected football and other fall sports, and where we're going leading into the playoffs. Well, Coach Savarese, thank you so much for being with us here today to just catch us up on things at the association and life in general in 2020.
Yes, ma'am.
Good.
Look forward to it.
Good. Okay, well, first of all, let's start with how do you think that the new football protocols related to COVID-19 have been received and adhered to by the schools?
Well, because of our member schools, we think everything has been awesome. We have always tried to take COVID-19 one day at a time. Since March 16th, when we were made aware that all of our schools were closing and our activities would cease, this staff has done an awesome job. They've all worked so hard for that day when we could renew. Starting with June, when we began back June the 8th just for workouts, not knowing what June 15th held the next week, one day at a time. I'm very grateful to our medical advisory board. We could have never got through this situation without the leadership of Dr. James Robinson, Dr. Jeff Dugas, and the entire medical advisory board. They have, anytime we've requested information from them, they've been there for us to provide us the latest information, not only to our staff, but to our Central Board of Control. So with everyone working together, especially our schools, our administration, we've been able to return to some sense of normalcy. But we couldn't do this without our schools. They, again, have just been awesome.
Wonderful, good. Well, specifically speaking of football, I know that there's been a whole host of new processes and procedures this year. The extension of the sidelines box, ball cleaning procedures, number of fans at each game, etc. Tell us which of these new rules have come from the association, which have come from the state of Alabama, Board of Education, and even the National Federation?
Well, most of the rules, I guess you would say the changes to any rules have come from the National Federation of State High School Associations, NFHS, who is our rule-making governing body. And they have a medical advisory board who made recommendations to them, who then provided us that information, and we adopted those rule changes almost immediately, our board did. There have been other rule changes that have been suggested to us by our task force. We had 4 task force we put together immediately to hear from our coaches, to hear from our administrators in fall, winter sports, so on. And they all provided us needed information. They're at the schools every day. They know exactly what's happening, as well as the State Department of Education. Dr. Eric Mackey, the State Superintendent of Schools, has been wonderful. He and I, along with Ryan Hollingsworth, the head of the Superintendent Association, Vic Wilson, head of class, or our Principals Association, we were on weekly and sometimes daily calls to put all the information together. And I want to really thank Dr. Scott Harris. Dr. Harris has been wonderful from the State Department of Public Health in providing us information anytime we need it. This was a collaborative effort between so many people working together, with the benefactor being our students. Nobody at any one time said, no, we can't do this. It was, let's find a way how to do this.
And it shows, it really does show what a team effort it's really been. With COVID, have there been any changes to athlete transfer or eligibility rules?
Not really.
Okay.
One of our rules changed last year, allowing anyone, don't tell your grandfather this up in heaven now, but one of the rule changes was to allow anyone JV or below to participate if they didn't make a bona fide move. If you participate on the varsity level, you have to make a bona fide move. That rule enabled more students to participate. I always remind everybody, we're in the business of making kids eligible, not ineligible. You know, we get accused of the other, but why? We've been in sports our entire life. We know the benefits of educational athletics. We want children to participate. So I was really glad to see that rule change, but other rules have remained the same.
Okay, great. Well, given all the challenges of this year, how are the football playoffs going to look different?
Well, I hope not too different, except for fan attendance. Now, we again will comply with the Alabama Department of Public Health, the governor's health order. In saying that, that will change possibly November 8th. So today, the only thing that you will see different, whether it's volleyball, swimming, cross country, or football, will be the number of fans who attend, but we will have generally very similar events.
Okay, and a lot of teams have had to forfeit games this year because of COVID. How is that going to affect the rankings and therefore affect the playoffs?
Well, I always say we have 97.5% of our schools are playing each week. So very few have forfeits in the scope of the number, where we may have 10 or 12 a week, or we had maybe 13 schools decide they would not participate in any fall sports. The majority of our schools are playing. Forfeits count on their record just like any other forfeit, and we will continue to take the top 4 to all playoffs.
Well, you mentioned volleyball. How do you feel like volleyball as well as other fall sports have adjusted to the new rules and regulations?
Well, again, because of the leadership, first of all, of our staff. Under Denise Ainsworth is the director of volleyball. She's assisted by Kim Vickers. They have done an awesome job meeting with their committees, taking input from our coaches. Susan, our coaches are just happy to have a playoff. And when we started this, so many coaches called and said to me, Coach, it's not about the winning, we just want our kids to play. Well, I got to tell you, it's transitioned now to a little bit more about winning now as we get closer to the playoffs. But Denise and Kim and our coaches, administrators, put together a platform to allow our students to play. We've had to extend our championships by a day because of crowd limitations. We do want mamas and daddies and grandparents to be able to watch their kids play. So we added another day. We love it. We wish we competed every day. So we'll have those challenges, but they'll look pretty similar. Just take a little longer to complete.
That's great. Well, thank you. It seems like you really have kept you've majored on the majors and you kept the main thing. And I know that everybody across the state appreciates that. So in that light, speak of the importance of high school sports and leading us all back into a sense of normalcy.
Well, we needed something to rally around. I mean, everybody had gotten into a doldrum. Kids, their mental health was affected because they didn't know what tomorrow had. And once we started athletics back, it gave everyone something to shoot for, something to look forward to. And then once we started playing, even though COVID is very important and it's real, it gave our schools and our kids and our teachers, our administrators, something other than COVID to look forward to. And we found a way to coexist. And we think it's worked pretty well.
Coach Savarese, like the rest of us, looking forward to the state playoffs that are only a few weeks away. Hard to believe we're at that point, Susan, as we take a look at the rankings right now in Class 7A. Very little change at the top. Thompson still the number one team in 7A. Hoover right there behind them. We are 2 weeks away, actually a week and a half now, from the showdown between those two programs in regular season play. Auburn there in the mix at number 3, and then Hewitt-Trussville also at number 4 from Class 7A Region 3, and not a surprise that they would get such high recognition despite 2 losses, given the fact those losses are number 1 and number 2.
That's right, yes. We're looking forward to those playoffs. They'll be here before we know it.
And while we still have a couple of weeks of regular season play left, those matchups are going to go a long way towards determining who indeed is in the state playoff, or at least positioning where that's concerned. We start with the schedule this week. Hoover taking on Tuscaloosa County. The Bucks trying to stay perfect at 8-0 and 5-0 right now in region play. Thompson also with an identical mark of 8-0 and 5-0 in region play. They'll be on the road at Oak Mountain. Hewitt-Trussville will face Gadsden City. Hewitt still very much in the thick of things, even though they're sitting there at 3-2 in region play, but 6-2 overall, as we talked about, ranked 4th currently in the state polls. And Vestavia and Spain Park rounding out this week's schedule. The Rebels at 1-6 overall, 1-4 in region play on the road, taking on the Jaguars.
Well, sounds like it's going to be another big week of region play.
Should be indeed.
Yes. Well, thank you all for tuning in this week. Please continue to like and share our videos. Send us any stories that you think we should cover. Thanks to OS1 Sports Injury Clinic. I'm Susan for Chris. We'll see you next week.